Well, there's a concept that I'm really paying attention to, which is resilience. How do people bounce back from difficulties?
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. It's a depression.
And so you can kind of be bombarded with the news. So I think you have to be careful about how much you're exposed to the news, especially if there's very frightening or distressing images in the news, that once you've seen them, maybe not to go back again and again to let yourself kind of be stimulated and distressed by those images.
We sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone.
The alt-radical left propaganda media has created what I call an informational crisis in this country, and they can no longer be trusted.
This is one of those days where what happened today in politics means something totally different to the portion of Americans who watch Fox News than it does to everybody else in the country.
Self-appointed social media warriors have taken hijacking legitimate points of view to an extreme, and they're twisting them into their own politically correct PC mentality.
You would never shame people for trying to get informed, no matter what other subject it was, no matter how unimportant. Like if I say, hey, I'm gonna go buy a car. Don't look into it. Well, how will I know which car to get? Ask the salesman. He's the expert. What are you, Henry Ford?
They're devaluing anyone who disagrees with them by labeling them as being misogynistic, being a bigot, an extremist, a feminazi, etc., etc., etc.
I wish I was joking, but ActiBliz actually came up with a numerical value system for ethnicities, disabilities, and sexualities in their character designs.
Well, behaviors are going to have to change, and this is one thing we're asking companies. 54% of the incoming class are women. We added 4 more points in terms of diverse employment this year, and what we are doing internally is if you don't achieve these levels of impact, your compensation could be impacted. Okay,
we're doing the same thing.
And so it's just you have to force behaviors, and if you don't force behaviors, whether it's gender or race, or just any way you want to say the composition of your team, you're going to be impacted. And that's not recruiting, it is development, as Ken said.
And really, doesn't that just tell you everything you need to know? You aren't a person, you are a disability. You aren't a human, you are a skin color. You aren't alive, you are a checkbox. They are so confident consumers will buy anything that matches a flag that they don't even need to consider things like backstory, personality, goals, likes or dislikes, things that make a character a character. It's sad that people's visibility, inclusivity, and representation is being pushed at the expense of their humanity.
Look, common sense and decency have given way to hate and extreme thinking thanks to the relative anonymity of the internet. Social media, while it's a great communication tool, is also partly nearly to blame for its destruction of civil discourse in our country.
Forbid empathy. Empathy is weakness.
Amazing. Every word of what you just said was wrong.
Now, tell me a simple yes or no. Did you hear of my order forbidding the burial?
Of course I heard it. How could I not?
Yet you dared to disobey the law.
Yes, I did. Because it's your law, not the law of God. Natural justice, which is of all times and places numinous, not material, a quality of Zeus, not of kings, recognizes no such law. You are merely a man, mortal, like me. And laws that you enact cannot overturn ancient moralities or common human decency. They speak the language of eternity, are not written down, and never change. They are for today, yesterday, and all time. No one understands where they came from, but everyone recognizes their force, and no man's arrogance or power can make me disobey them.
Why else do you think people are turning on each other? Because they're afraid of each other, or of being wrong, or of being alone, or of being ostracized or forgotten. They're so afraid that they think even listening to each other will constitute some form of weakness. They've forgotten that fear inhibits us from taking risks, when risk is the only way we can move past our fears in the first place. You have to risk rejection in order to make a connection. You have to risk losing in order to win. And you have to risk being vulnerable in order to get stronger. Because vulnerability is strength. Because without it, without that risk, we remain stagnant. We never grow. We never change. We stay afraid. We get more afraid and more afraid until the day comes when we'd rather kill each other than risk even talking to each other.
I'm tired, boss. Tired of being on the road, lonely as a sparrow in the rain. I'm tired of never having me a buddy to be with, to tell me where we's going to, coming from, or why. Mostly I'm tired of people being ugly to each other. I'm tired of all the pain I feel and hear in the world every day. There's too much of it. It's like pieces of glass in my head all the time. Can you understand?
Yes, John, I think I can.
All you people don't know about lost causes. Mr. Payne does. He said once they were the only causes worth fighting for. And he fought for them once. For the only reason any man ever fights for them. Because of just one plain, simple rule. Love thy neighbor. And in this world today full of hatred, a man who knows that one rule has a great trust. You know that rule, Mr. Payne. And I loved you for it just as my father did. And you know that you fight for the lost causes harder than for any others. Yes, you even die for them.
You can't stop talking to each other. You can't stop debating, communicating, and yes, comparing notes. Even arguing is better than not communicating at all, as long as you're listening to each other. Because arguing with each other means you're arguing for each other. It means you're fighting for the other person to see your side, not to defeat them, but to save them. Even if it's to save them from themselves. To never stop believing they can be saved. To say, I don't care who you are, whether you're my worst enemy or whether you're your worst enemy. I will not give up on you. I will not leave you behind because we're all in this together. Every one of us.
Don't you know what I've done? Yes! But what will you do now? We don't change. Destroy us. No more. No more. For the sake of our children, we must be better.
Small minds discuss other people, gossip. Good minds discuss events. Great minds discuss ideas. That was Eleanor Roosevelt. That was also Pauletta's father, my father-in-law. He was a great man. He taught me so much about what being a man really is. I want to end the night with a short video that we recorded of Pauletta's father. And this is what Pauletta's father had to say 30 years ago.
We were put here for a reason. God created man, and God intends for us to love all mankind. And by being in a loving mood, caring for one another, that's our purpose for life. We should care for one another, and we should love one another.
And the day we lose sight of that, that's the day we've truly lost.